Good evening. Thank you for being here. So we'll go ahead and begin with the verse of the Kesa. Vast is the robe of liberation, a formless field of benefaction. I wear the Tathagata's teaching, freeing all creations. Vast is the robe of liberation, a formless field of benefaction. I wear the Tathagata's teaching, freeing all creations. Vast is the robe of liberation, a formless field of benefaction. I wear the Tathagata's teaching, freeing all creations. Gods of Atonement. All evil karma ever committed by me since of old, on account of my beginningless greed, anger, and ignorance, born of my body, mouth, and thought, now I atone for it all. All evil karma ever committed by me since of old, on account of my beginningless greed, anger, and ignorance, born of my body, mouth, and thought. Now I atone for it all. The dogs are chained. All evil karma ever committed by me since of old, on account of my beginningless greed, anger, and ignorance, born of my body, mouth, and thought. Now I atone for it all. Sorry about that. There's a big dog walking back and forth on the sidewalk in front of the house. The fragrance of this incense invites the awakened mind to be present with us now. The fragrance of this incense fills our room, protects and guards our minds from wrong thinking. The fragrance of this incense unites us with precepts, concept, and incense. We offer it for all beings. Homage to the Buddha. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. I go to the Buddha for guidance. I shall become one with the Buddha. I resolve that I shall each day follow the way of life he laid down for us to walk and awaken to his supreme wisdom. I go to the Dharma for guidance. I shall become one with the Dharma. The gates of Dharma are manifold. I vow to enter them all. The goal of wisdom is ever beyond. I shall attain it. I go to the Sangha for guidance. I shall become one with the Sangha. In the spirit of universal fellowship and as a member of the Sangha, I pledge myself to strive for the enlightenment of all beings. The Metta Sutta. This is what should be done by one who is skilled in goodness, and who knows the path of peace. Let them be able and upright, straightforward and gentle in speech, humble and not conceited, contented and easily satisfied, unburdened with duties and frugal in their ways, peaceful and calm and wise and skillful, not proud and demanding in nature. Let them not do the slightest thing that the wise would later reprove. Wishing in gladness and in safety, may all beings be at ease. Whatever living beings there may be, whether they are weak or strong, omitting none, the great or the mighty, medium, short, or small, the seen and the unseen, those living near and far away, those born and to be born, may all beings be at ease. Let none deceive another or despise any being in any state. Let none through anger or ill will wish harm upon another. Even as a mother protects with her life her child, her only child, so with a boundless heart should one cherish all living beings, radiating kindness over the entire world, spreading upward to the skies, downward to the depths, outward and unbounded, freed from hatred and ill will, whether standing or walking, sitting or lying down, free from drowsiness, one should sustain this recollection. This is said to be the sublime abiding. By not holding to fixed views, the pure-hearted one, having clarity of vision, being freed from all sense desires, is not born again into the world of suffering. Metta prayer. May I be happy and well. May no harm come to me. May I learn compassion. May all my friends, family, and those I love be happy and well. May no harm come to them. May they learn compassion. May all those troubled in body, mind, and spirit be happy and well. May no harm come to them. May they learn compassion. May all those who have hurt me in body, mind, and spirit be happy and well. May no harm come to them. May they learn compassion. May all those I have hurt in body, mind, and spirit be happy and well. May no harm come to them. May they learn compassion. May all my enemies be happy and well. May no harm come to them. May they learn compassion. May all living beings be happy and well. May no harm come to them. May they learn compassion. Okay. So we'll do a meditation together. I'll give you a little guidance. This will take about 15 minutes or so. If you don't want guidance, you can mute your sound for about 15 minutes. To begin, take a few nice deep breaths. Let your belly be soft so that your lungs can fill and empty completely, naturally. Just relaxing your abdominals so your diaphragm can contract and expand. So breathing in a long breath, breathing out a long breath. Notice what it feels like in your body when you breathe that way. In long, out long. We're going to experiment with breathing in different ways and just sort of being aware of how it feels in your body when you do this. So try breathing in long and out short. So nice extended breath in, and then just let it go. And do this a few times, noticing what it feels like in your body to breathe that way. And then try a few breaths in short, out long. So a quick breath in, and then an extended breath out. Breathing in, and a long breath out. And then try breathing in short, breathing out short. Short breaths in and out. And how does that feel? And then just let your breath just settle. Breathe however is comfortable, natural. But just notice as you breathe, breathing in long or short, breathing out long or short. And we're going to scan the body using the breath. It's just a way to feel our way through the body. And we'll go by way of joints. It's kind of a nice way to relax and open up the body. It's just bring your attention to the joints starting from the feet. And just imagine that your feet join, that all the openings, the spaces between bones just kind of elongate, relax, open up. And bring your attention to that part of your body as if you're breathing through your feet. And as you do this, if you encounter any tension that you can release, do that. Anything else that comes into your awareness, you can just accept it as part of the present moment. And then up to your ankles, feeling like all those little spaces between the bones in your ankles just open up and become loose. and up to the knees. All the muscles and connective tissues just kind of softens and relaxes so the joints can become loose. The energy of the breath flowing through the joint. And up to your hips. And slowly up your back, just almost as if the vertebrae separate one at a time. Still holding you up, of course, but the back just becoming flexible, joints loosening. So rather than being held up, your back just kind of stacks up. The lumbar curve just softening, relaxing, continuing up between your shoulder blades, base of the neck. That kind of extending as if you're being suspended from the crown of your head. And your spine hanging like a string of beads. And all the joints around your shoulders, the shoulder socket, everything softening, relaxing. Up into your face, your jaw relaxing. Lips closed softly, tongue against the roof of your mouth. Jaw not clenched. And back down your neck and out your shoulders to your elbows. Wrists. There's a lot of bones in the wrist, a lot of little spaces there. Just let them all relax. So that as you breathe, the energy of the breath can flow through your wrists, in and out. And down into the hands, the fingers. And bring your attention to the tip of your nose, or the center of your chest, or the pit of your stomach. wherever it feels comfortable and natural for you to stay connected to the breath. And let your awareness expand out from that point through your body, as if your breath was moving through all those joints, from your feet to the top of your head and back. Breathing in and out, calming the breath, let the breath become softer, more subtle. If you need to note your breaths, anchor your attention there. You can count or just use Budo. And let the out breath be long and soft. The bell will ring twice to end the meditation. So when it rings the first time, bring your hands together in front of your heart. Take a nice deep breath. Be aware of your surroundings. And when it rings the second time, take a moment just to bow. Be where you are. Be grateful that you spent this time developing your spiritual life. Okay. So some of you know I used to be a journalist. That's what I was doing until about 2010, when the whole journalism industry sort of collapsed in on itself. And I was mostly a features writer. I did some hard news, covered commission meetings and things like that once in a while. But for the most part, I got to talk to interesting people or do interesting things and then write about that. And it was fun. I enjoyed it. Uh, so one morning, and there was a few years there that I worked as a staffer at the Daytona Beach News Journal. Most of the time I freelanced, but there was a period there where I was actually going into Daytona and sitting in an office. And so one morning I got in, I sat down at my desk, looked at my email, and I had gotten an email from the marketing director of a circus who was saying that he wanted to shoot me out of a cannon. So the Cole Brothers Circus, excuse me, winter headquarters was about 1.5 miles from where I'm sitting right now. Not very close to my house in DeLand. And I think that circus has ceased production since then. But at the time, during the winter, the performers would live there, or they'd go wherever they were, and all their stuff was stored there, and animals and things like that. And then when they got ready to go on the road, they'd be there working on their acts and trying to get ready to go out. And they actually still performed under a giant tent and all that kind of thing. So they were there working on the next year's that year's performances. And so this marketing guy, who was a nice guy, I knew him and everything, he said, boy, wouldn't it make a great story if you come over and we train you how to be a human cannonball. And he was joking. He mostly just kind of wanted to get my attention. And so hoping that would get my attention and I'd write something about the circus, and which usually would work. And to his surprise and mine, I read the email to my editor, and he said, that's a great idea. Well, to my relief, the newspaper's lawyers thought it was a terrible idea. But I did write him back, and I told him about the conversation we'd had there in the office, and he said, well, how about we train you on the globe of death? So the globe of death is this gigantic steel mesh ball. I'm not sure how tall it is. It's, let's see, this room is probably 8 feet high. I'm guessing from base to top, it's probably, this giant ball is probably 12, 15 feet in diameter, something like that. It's a giant metal ball. And the deal with the globe of death is that you get a bunch of guys in motorcycles in there, and they go around and up the walls and do loops and all this kind of stuff, and don't smash into each other and die. That's kind of the whole shtick with this. And so lesson number 1 apparently involved getting on a beat up trail bike and trying to ride around in a circle inside this sphere with the trainer holding on to you to keep you from falling over. So it's not exactly death defying. It's more like the globe of skin knees at that point. But I agreed that I would do this. And so I went out there and to do this. And also they said, well, we're going to train some human cannonballs and it turns out that there were more former and current human cannonballs living in DeLand at that point than any place else in the world, so far as we could determine. And so I got to interview several of them and to watch a new one being trained to be shot out of a cannon. So in my career as a journalist, most of the people that I interviewed never did anything quite as death-defying as being shot out of a cannon. But I did talk to a lot of people who were passionate about what they did. And I noticed something with all of them. Whether somebody was getting shot out of a cannon, or whether they were treating cancer patients, or protecting sea turtles, or just helping people develop healthy relationships, or committing to a spiritual path, success seemed to involve 3 main steps: knowing what gives your life meaning, determining what needs to be done, and then taking action. So notice I didn't say anything about identifying your needs or getting motivated or having self-confidence or anything like that. I didn't say anything about overcoming fear. All these people knew that failure was possible and could be disastrous, and they went forward anyway. So know what's meaningful, see what needs to be done, do it. So in Japanese psychology, there's a field called Morita therapy where they talk about this very thing as living on purpose. So living on purpose means really being led by your highest values, by what's most important to you, rather than having your life dictated to you by your feelings, by fears, worries, and habits. So we're often told by our culture to look before we leap. And sometimes we interpret that as meaning that we have to be ready before we can live fully. We can't just move forward. We have to somehow develop confidence first to be up to a challenge before we can accept it. And that's a little bit like saying that you'll start going to the gym once you get in shape. In fact, if you want to prepare yourself for a challenge, you have to do it by challenging yourself. So you might say that you leap before you look. You take a leap, and then you see how that one worked out, and then you execute a series of leaps that will take you where you want to go. That doesn't mean, of course, don't prepare. But preparation should be concerned with minimizing your risk, but not eliminating it. If you want to eliminate all risk, you just never do anything. So this might seem a little contradictory to some of the things that we talk about when we're talking about Buddhism. In Buddhism, liberation comes about through training the mind. And here's the opening verses of the Dhammapada. Phenomena are preceded by the mind, ruled by the mind, made of the mind. If you speak or act with a tainted mind, then suffering follows you as the wheel of a cart follows the track of the ox that pulls it. If you speak or act with a calm, bright mind, then happiness follows you like a shadow that never leaves. So that says, set your mind first. But there's really not a contradiction. Every action begins with an intention. The mind often houses conflicting intentions. So our job is to develop the calm, bright ones, like the Buddha was talking about, and avoid nurturing the tainted ones. But sometimes that involves doing things because they're meaningful to us, even while experiencing uncomfortable feelings. So, for instance, we might consider doing something but realize that we're afraid of it. A lot of people are afraid of public speaking, for instance. I used to be terrified of it. And in some circumstances, I'll still feel anxious if I get up and talk to a group, and the group or the setting or something like that is out of my comfort zone. In fact, we did a vigil for COVID-19 for school, and the current president and the incoming president were both going to be there, and all this kind of stuff. And it was a virtual event, and I was really nervous coming up to that, because not so much because of who was going to be there, but because it was all stuff that I hadn't done before. And so there was no comfort zone to get into at all. It was completely uncomfortable for the most part. But you figure out, what is it that I want to accomplish? What is meaningful here? And then you let that create your space and move into it. So a lot of people who want to overcome their fear of speaking, we're going to see somebody giving a speech, and the first thing they'll think is, oh, I'd never have the courage to do that. But I like to remind myself of something that there was a British Prime Minister named Harold Wilson. He once said that courage is the art of being the only one who knows that you're scared to death. So instead of trying to overcome your fear, feel frightened, but do what you need to do anyway. And so you can call this, at the Todo Institute, where I studied Japanese psychology, they refer to this as leading with the body. There's really a mental phenomenon happening first. The mind creates this space, this intention, and then the body gets up to fill that space created by that intention. So if you're a human cannonball, you feel terrified, no doubt, but your body carefully prepares for the flight. If you want to start making speeches, you feel nervous, and your body goes to look up the schedule for the local Toastmasters meetings or something like that. And then you feel nervous while the body gets into the car and goes to the first one, and probably feel nervous while you stand up and start talking too. But eventually, as nervous as you get, you still do what you set out to do, and over time, then that becomes less nerve-wracking because you can practice what it's like to be in that space. So the mind comes along for this whole ride, and through this ongoing collaboration between intention and action, the mind starts to develop different feelings about getting up to give a speech, anxiety lessens, and you might actually learn to enjoy giving talks. I imagine that if you were going to get shot out of a cannon, or if you were going to get on a motorcycle and ride around inside a mesh ball, you probably want to keep as much of that fear as you can without really losing control of what your body's doing. Because, you know, the higher the stakes are, the more you're going to want to stay really in focus of what's going on. So being fearful or being nervous really can be an energizing and focusing phenomenon. Leading with the body is a good way to approach life. So we often have to allow ourselves to coexist with uncomfortable feelings. Anxiety and depression and anger and all kinds of those feelings can be alleviated largely through accepting them and then just doing what needs to be done. We've got some members who want to take the Bodhisattva vows. So basically, that's what that is. You're committing to what needs to be done, despite all the reasons that your mind comes with not to make that commitment. And not only that, but the vows themselves are talking to the impossibility of the task that you're vowing to do. Sentient beings are numberless. I vow to liberate them. Delusions are inexhaustible. I vow to transform them. Dharma gates are boundless. I vow to enter them. Enlightened way is unattainable. I vow to embody it. So this isn't a resolution to feel a certain way or to have a certain quality. It's a statement of purpose and of determination to seek that purpose, to pursue that purpose through action. The spiritual way is impossible, overwhelming. So I best get moving, right? So I've been talking about living on purpose and having purpose and letting values and meaning guide you. But I haven't talked about how to find purpose or where purpose comes from. I personally have the dogs know exactly what their purpose is. Their purpose is to drive away every other dog that might come within a mile of the house. I'm sorry that that's happening right now. But anyway, I haven't really talked about how to find purpose or where it comes from. So I have a pretty well-defined sense of purpose, but I can't tell you what your purpose should be. One of my favorite books of all time is Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. And Frankl has a really nice way of talking about this. He says we shouldn't ask what is the meaning of life. He compares that to asking a chess master what's the best chess move. It depends on what game you're playing and where you are in the game. So instead of asking that, we should realize that life is asking us that question. What meaning will we give our time in this body? So one way to answer that is to consider your life. What would you like to do with it? If you go around asking people what do you want out of life, most of them will say, well, I just want to be happy. And that's fine. That's a good thing. Happiness is a good thing. I'd like for you to be happy too. There's nothing wrong with that, but too many people confuse happiness and pleasure. So to aim for pleasure is a pretty surefire way to miss happiness, because a lot of the time we'll actually avoid doing something that we think might make us uncomfortable, and then we're going to miss out on the stuff that we would have gotten if we challenged ourselves. So instead, we should shoot for purpose. Aim for something really outside of the way we were feeling. So if you're compassionate and it makes some difference that you have lived, then that's probably what happiness looks like. I couldn't think of anything much better than that. If it makes some difference that you spent some time on this earth, then I would think that that's happiness. So there's been some research done into the idea of how to live happily, and there's basically 3 sort of universal themes that seem to lead to a happy life. And first is that happy people see their part in the kind of the grand scheme of things. They may choose a very independent path, but they're aware of their interdependence with the world in which they live. And second, they tend to recognize that setbacks contain teachings. Every adversity is an opportunity for awakening. Third, they recognize the importance of serving others. So to be truly happy, we need kindness and compassion. We need to make a positive difference in the life of others. There was a Japanese psychologist, Takahisa Kora, and he talked about this. He said, if we live a life contributing to others in our present circumstances, then our lives will blossom and our shoulders will straighten. When we are needed by others, there is some real significance to our living. And I like the way he started this. If we live a life contributing to others in our present circumstances, then our lives will blossom. So we don't have to become a certain kind of person. We don't have to have a certain set of assets in order to contribute to others or anything like that. We just have to let our lives blossom. We have to find a purpose that helps others. So have you been telling yourself that you're lazy, right? Fearful, stuck, unfocused? Okay, fine. Be lazy, fearful, stuck, unfocused, and get going anyway. You could be the best lazy person in the world, right? We don't have to wait for our shoulders to straighten and our lives to blossom to begin living a deeper life. We just have to get started from where we stand right now, global pandemic and everything. Just do what we can do that brings purpose to and meaning to the world around us. So I hope that was helpful to you. I wouldn't recommend being a human cannibal. They all have back issues and stuff like that. Probably not the best career you could have. But you know, if there's something that you're wanting to do that scares you, good. Be scared. Do it anyway. So that's really all I had for tonight. I'm going to look and see if you have any questions for me. Well, this is strange. I don't see any questions. So I don't see any questions. Yeah. So thank you for being here. Although it looks like, hold on a second. Be right back. Somebody said something and then they took it back, or they deleted it or something. Anyway, so I could see on the other screen. Well, thank you very much for being here, and look forward to seeing you, or you seeing me. Look forward to talking with you on Sunday, and if you want to attend the Zoom meeting tomorrow and you don't have a link, email me and I will be happy to send you the Zoom link. So let's do the dedication. Buddha nature pervades the whole universe, existing right here now, and offering flowers, candles, and incense, hearing the Dharma and training the mind, great merit is attained. We dedicate this merit to the great Master Shakyamuni Buddha, the all-pervading and everlasting three treasures, to the 16 guardians and all protectors of the Dharma and their relations throughout space and time, to all ancestors of the Sangha and all beings in the Dharma world. May penetrating light dispel the darkness of ignorance, let all karma be resolved in the mind flower bloom in eternal spring. May the Dharma body maintain strength and health, and years of life be lengthened for all teachers of this Sangha. May their vows be fully realized. May they live in perfect peace with Buddha Dharma. We pray for all those suffering from violence and those who grieve for them, for those living in oppression. For all who are imprisoned who should be free. For all refugees from violence, hunger, and catastrophe, man-made or natural. We pray for the health and well-being of those suffering from diseases of body, mind, or spirit, those working toward the healing of those afflictions. We pray for those suffering from COVID-19, those working to protect and treat them, and to those grieving for those lost to this pandemic. We have members of our congregation, friends and loved ones who are grieving for lost loved ones. We pray for them, send loving thoughts their way. May they be serene through all their troubles, and may we realize the enlightened way together. Sabe sata sadahantu avera sukajivino katam punya phalam maham sabe bhagi bhavantu te. May all beings always live happily, free from animosity. May all share in the blessings that spring from the good we have done. Thought I saw another comment, but I guess not. Three bows. Thank you. I'll see you again soon.